Okay, let's get started. Now we are discuss about the Poetics by Aristotle. Significance of poetic in study of literature. Lecture 3rd. Starting with the Platonic assumptions that a literary form, an oration, for example, or a tragedy has the nature of a living organism. Aristotle wants to the positions that each distinct kind of literature must have a definite and characteristics activity or functions, and that these specific functions are determines principles must be equivalent to the effect that the form produced upon a competent observes, that is form and functions being as it were interchangeable terms. The organism is what it does to the person who is capable of judging that it does or ought to do. Then further beginning again with the general literary estimate is a mere name, but in a mere also learned that had become more or less crystallized during the interval between the ages of the adult drama and his own time, and enabled him to the assign tentative values to one play and another's. The great critics found a way to select over to of a large extent literature a small number of tragedies which must necessity conformed more nearly than the rest to ideal type, as in politics, which is based on researches among a great number of municipal constitutions, yet with emphasis upon a few. So in the Poetics his inductions for tragedy must repose upon a collection of instances as exhaustive as he knew how to make it, with less of perspective. That his observations was inclusive, so that he might not pass over what since the day of Bacon we have been accustomed to think as crucial instance by a penetrating skew of these crucial instant. In tragedy, he still more narrowly defined that ought to be the proper effect of this kind of literature's catharsis of pity and fears, the purgations of two disturbing emotions, then raising from function back to form and form again to functions. He could test each select tragedy and every part of it by the way in which the part and the whole conduce to his emotion, to this emotional relief. In this manner, he arrived at the assumption as the conceptions of an ideal structures for tragedy as a pattern which, though never fully realized in any existing Greek drama, must yet constitute the standard for all of its kind. He proceeded, in fact, as does the anatomist who representations for of the normal select and muscle in an act of the imaginations ascending from the actual to an ideal truth, and never quite realized in any individual, though nearly realized in what one would consider a normal man, or perhaps does he sculptor. whereby an imaginative synthesis combines the elements which he has observed in the finest speciesism of humanity into a form more perfect than nature ever succeeds in producing. Finally, the poetic, if it be synthetically studies, may be thought to have a special value at the present time when a school has arises led by the ingenious Professor Cross, whose nation seems to be that there really are no types in art and hence no standards of interpretations and criticisms are save the aim of the individual writer or painter in his tractate of education. Milton allowed to some antidote in one part of literature to an evil tendency in others. Whenever the poetics of Aristotle receive the attention it demands, it serves as an antidote to anarchy in criticisms. Okay, do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.